I'm Ellie, 32, and last Thanksgiving, I got a text that changed everything. Party's canceled for you, but your sister married well and deserves to be here. My dad's follow-up was even better. Learn from her. Marry someone of value. Sitting in my Seattle penthouse, reading those words while my housekeeper arranged imported orchids in crystal vases, I almost laughed. Almost. The irony was so thick you could cut it with my Platinum Amex. But let me back up to show you exactly how we got to this delicious moment of family dysfunction. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt completely invisible to your own family. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. Growing up as the Bennett family disappointment was like being the understudy in your own life. Sarah, my younger sister, got the spotlight while I got the leftovers. She was the pretty one, the charming one, the one who married well and made our parents proud. I was just Ellie, the daughter who never amounted to anything. You know how some families have a golden child? Well, Sarah was platinum-plated with diamond accents. Every family gathering started with updates about her perfect life. Sarah's husband bought her a new Mercedes. Sarah's moving to that exclusive neighborhood. Sarah's joining the country club. Meanwhile, my achievements were met with polite indifference. Graduated summa cum laude? That's nice, dear. Got promoted again? How wonderful. The pattern was so predictable, I could have set my watch by it. But here's the thing about being underestimated. It gives you superpowers. While everyone was busy dismissing me, I was busy building an empire. The same family who thought I'd never amount to anything had no idea their disappointment was sitting on a fortune that would make their heads spin. See, I'd learned early that success was better served cold. And after years of being treated like the family failure, I was about to dish out a meal they'd never forget. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this story unfolds. Let me paint you a picture of my childhood. Every family photo tells the story perfectly. Sarah front and center, beaming like she owned the world, while I'm either cropped out or standing awkwardly to the side, like a distant relative who crashed the party. I was 8 when I first understood my place in the Bennett family hierarchy. Sarah had just turned 5, and my parents threw her this elaborate princess party. I'm talking pony rides, professional face painting, a cake that cost more than most people's rent. 50 kids showed up. My birthday 3 months later, pizza from a box, and 3 classmates in our backyard. When I asked why Sarah got the princess treatment, Mom patted my head like I was a confused puppy. Sarah needs more encouragement, sweetie. You're naturally independent. Independent. That was their code for, you're on your own, kid. The pattern continued through high school. Sarah struggled with basic math, so she got a private tutor. I was valedictorian, and they missed my graduation speech because Sarah had a softball game. You've always been self-sufficient, Dad explained when I asked why. Sarah needs our support. College was more of the same. I worked 3 jobs to pay my way through business school while Sarah got a full ride courtesy of the bank of Mom and Dad to study art therapy, which basically meant 4 years of Instagram-worthy trips to Europe to find herself. The kicker? When I graduated with honors and landed my first job at a Fortune 500 company, Sarah announced she was dropping out junior year to marry Mark, some guy she'd known for 6 months. The family's reaction? Pure celebration. Finally, their precious daughter had found her prince charming. I'll give you one guess which daughter got the congratulations party and which one got a lukewarm, "That's nice," dear over the phone. But you know what they say about the quiet ones. We're usually plotting something. And boy, was I plotting. Mark Sullivan was everything my family valued in a son-in-law. Decent job in finance, clean-cut appearance, came from a good family, whatever that meant. He was perfectly ordinary. But he treated Sarah like a queen, which in my parents' eyes made him worthy of sainthood. The wedding was a 3-ring circus with a guest list that read like the social register. No expense was spared for their princess. The dress alone cost more than my annual salary at the time. I was assigned bridesmaid duty. Naturally. But spent most of the reception watching my family fawn over the happy couple while I nursed a glass of champagne and contemplated the beautiful irony of it all. You see, while everyone was celebrating Sarah's brilliant catch, I was already 3 years into building something they couldn't even comprehend. The consulting firm I'd started on weekends was quietly accumulating clients who paid more for a single project than Mark made in 6 months. But I kept my mouth shut. Called it professional discretion, but really, I was learning to enjoy being underestimated. There's something deliciously powerful about being dismissed by people who have no idea what you're capable of. After the wedding, the family dynamic shifted into overdrive. Sunday dinners became Sarah Appreciation Society meetings. Every conversation revolved around her new house, her new furniture, her new life as a proper married woman. I'd sit there eating mom's pot roast, listening to them dissect Sarah's latest social media posts, like they were analyzing scripture. "Did you see the photos from their wine tasting weekend?" Mom would gush. "Mark is so generous," Dad would add approvingly. Sarah really chose well. The subtext was always there, hanging in the air like expensive perfume. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" I'd smile, nod, and mentally calculate the revenue from my latest corporate acquisition. Because while they were busy praising Sarah's choice in men, I was making choices that would change everything. I just wasn't ready to show my cards yet. Sometimes the best revenge is patience. And trust me, mine was about to pay off spectacularly. The reason I kept my success under wraps has everything to do with a lesson I learned the hard way about 5 years ago. His name was David Chen, and he was everything a woman thinks she wants. Charming, attentive, and completely fascinated by my mind. Or so I thought. We met at a networking event where I was speaking about emerging market strategies. David approached me afterward with intelligent questions and genuine interest in my work. For 6 months, he was the perfect boyfriend. Flowers, thoughtful texts, weekend getaways to his family's lake house. The romance ended abruptly when I overheard him on a phone call with his brother. "Trust me, Ellie's company is worth millions. Once we're married, I'll have access to everything. She's so focused on business, she'll never see it coming." That night, I confronted him. David's mask slipped completely. "Come on, Ellie. Did you really think someone like me would be interested in someone like you for your personality?" He gestured dismissively at my appearance. "You're nice enough, but let's be realistic about what you bring to the table." The breakup was swift and surgical. David found himself mysteriously unable to secure financing for his startup, his references suddenly unavailable, his professional network eerily silent. Funny how that works when you're a nobody trying to scam somebody with actual influence. That's when I made the decision to go underground with my success. I kept the modest apartment, drove a 5-year-old Honda, and dressed down for family gatherings. Let them think I was still struggling while I built my empire in shadows. The strategy worked perfectly. No more fortune hunters, no more fake friends trying to get close to my wallet. Even my own family continued treating me like the poor relation, while I quietly acquired companies and built wealth they couldn't imagine. I learned to find genuine pleasure in their dismissal. Every time Dad made a comment about my career, every time Mom suggested I should settle down like Sarah, I'd smile and think about the 7-figure deals I'd closed that week. Because the beautiful thing about being underestimated is that nobody sees you coming until it's far too late. Sarah's transformation after marriage was something to behold. Suddenly, she was an expert on wine, interior design, and social etiquette. Her Instagram feed became a carefully curated display of upper-middle-class perfection, farmers' market hauls, couples' spa weekends, and artfully arranged coffee cups with inspirational quotes about loving your life. The family ate it up with a spoon. "Sarah's really blossomed," Mom would say during our monthly coffee dates. "Marriage agrees with her. Mark brings out her sophisticated side." I'd nod and sip my latte, mentally reviewing the acquisition proposal I'd received that morning from a tech startup begging me to buy them out. "But sure, Mom. Let's talk about Sarah's sophisticated side and her newfound appreciation for organic kale." The contrast between their perception of our lives and reality was so stark, it stopped being painful and started being entertaining. They'd celebrate Sarah's new throw pillows while I signed contracts worth more than their house. They'd praise Mark's promotion to senior analyst while I decided whether to expand my operations to Europe or Asia first. The funniest part? Mark worked in finance, but he was strictly small potatoes corporate stuff. Decent salary, solid benefits, respectable career track. Exactly the kind of stable, unimaginative path that impressed parents but built no real wealth. He was a cog in someone else's machine, while I was building machines of my own. But to my family, he was the golden son-in-law who'd rescued their daughter from spinsterhood and given her the proper life she deserved. Meanwhile, I was still the spinster daughter who focused too much on work and would never understand the joy of true partnership. If only they knew that while they were worried about my love life, I was busy becoming the kind of woman who could buy and sell their son-in-law's entire company before lunch. The irony was so perfect, I sometimes wondered if the universe had a sense of humor. During family dinners, I'd listen to them discuss Mark's career with such reverence, knowing that in a few months he'd be sitting across from me in a boardroom, completely unaware that his wife's unsuccessful sister held his professional future in her hands. The anticipation was delicious, almost as delicious as the humble pie they were all about to eat. 3 months before that fateful Thanksgiving text, something beautiful happened. Mark Sullivan got promoted to senior financial analyst at Bennett Industries. The company I acquired and renamed after my family, now owned entirely by me. Yes, you read that right. The company I purchased and rebranded, named after my family but belonging entirely to me. The poetry was too perfect. I'd been watching his resume circulate through HR for weeks. Mark was competent enough, if unimaginative, and his experience made him a decent fit for our expanding finance team. When his application landed on my desk for final approval, I nearly laughed out loud. Here was my chance to have some fun. I approved his hire with one small modification. I requested he be placed on the executive track, reporting directly to our CFO and occasionally interfacing with senior leadership. Translation: he'd be in meetings with me. The sister-in-law he'd never actually bothered to meet. See, here's something hilarious about my family dynamic. Despite being married to my sister for over 2 years, Mark and I had never been formally introduced. I'd see him at family gatherings, sure, but I was always the background sister, the one who helped in the kitchen while he held court with Dad about sports and investments. Sarah never made an effort to bring us together, and honestly, I preferred it that way. It meant Mark Sullivan had no idea what Ellie Bennett looked like. He knew Sarah had a sister, knew I was unmarried, and struggled professionally, but couldn't pick me out of a lineup. Perfect. His first day at Bennett Industries was a Tuesday in September. I watched through my office window as he toured the building, looking appropriately impressed by our headquarters' sleek design and obvious prosperity. Our HR director, Janet, walked him through the standard orientation, explaining company culture and introducing him to key department heads. And you'll occasionally work directly with our CEO, Janet mentioned as they passed my office. Ms. Bennett is very hands-on with senior analyst development. Looking forward to meeting her, Mark replied politely, not knowing he was standing 10 feet away from the family disappointment who'd just become his boss. I had to bite my lip to keep from smiling. This was going to be even more fun than I'd imagined. The stage was set, the players in position. All I needed now was the perfect moment to reveal my hand. Something told me that moment was coming soon. 2 months into Mark's tenure at Bennett Industries, Janet from HR called him with news that would change everything. He'd been selected for the quarterly leadership summit, an exclusive meeting with senior executives and the CEO herself. "This is a huge opportunity, Mark," Janet explained over the phone. "Ms. Bennett specifically requested you be included. She's been impressed with your quarterly projections." Mark nearly dropped his coffee. A personal request from the CEO? He'd been hoping to make a good impression, but this exceeded his wildest expectations. When he hung up, he immediately called Sarah with the news. "That's wonderful, honey," Sarah said, though her voice carried that distracted tone she got when scrolling through social media. "When is it?" "Next Friday. It's a formal presentation to the executive board, followed by a dinner reception. Family members are invited to the reception portion." He paused, excitement building. "Sarah, this could be my shot at fast-tracking to management level." For the first time, Sarah sounded genuinely interested. Family members? So I'll finally get to meet this mysterious CEO who's been giving my husband all these opportunities? Apparently so. Her name's Ellie Bennett. "Any relation to you with that last name?" Mark asked casually. The line went quiet for so long Mark thought they'd been disconnected. "Sarah? You there?" "Yes, Bennett is a common name, Mark. Probably just coincidence." But something in her tone suggested otherwise. "What do you think will happen when family secrets start unraveling in corporate boardrooms?" The tension is about to reach its breaking point. That evening, Mark brought home the official invitation, printed on heavy cardstock with the Bennett Industries logo embossed in gold. Sarah examined it like it might bite her, her face growing paler as she read. "Executive Leadership Summit with CEO Ellie Bennett," she read aloud. "Mark, we need to talk. Is everything okay? You've been acting strange since I mentioned her name." Sarah set the invitation on their kitchen counter and took a deep breath. "Ellie Bennett is my sister." Mark stared at her. "Your sister? The one who never comes to family events? The one your parents say is struggling professionally?" "Yes." Sarah's voice carried an edge of irritation. "Look, we don't really talk about Ellie much because there's nothing to talk about. She's never made anything of herself. But Sarah, she's the CEO of a major corporation, my boss. This doesn't make sense. Maybe there's been some mistake. Maybe it's a different Ellie Bennett." But even as she said it, Sarah didn't sound convinced. Mark pulled out his laptop and navigated to the company website. The executive page featured professional headshots of the leadership team, but the CEO's photo was notably absent, just a silhouette placeholder with E. Bennett, Chief Executive Officer, underneath. "She must be very private," Mark murmured. "In all the company materials, she's just referred to as Ms. Bennett or E. Bennett. I've never even seen a photo." Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from their mother. "Speaking of Ellie," she said with forced casualness, "Mom wants to know if we're coming to Sunday dinner this week. She's making her famous pot roast." "We should ask your parents about this Bennett Industries thing," Mark suggested. "No." Sarah's response was sharp enough that Mark looked up from his laptop. "I mean, why complicate things? If it's really my sister, which I doubt, we'll find out Friday. No point getting everyone worked up over nothing." But Mark could see the wheels turning in his wife's head. For the first time since he'd known her, Sarah looked genuinely worried about her sister. The question was why. The week leading up to the summit crawled by like a guilty conscience. Mark threw himself into preparation, rehearsing his presentation until Sarah threatened to hide his laptop. He'd been asked to present a strategic analysis of market trends affecting the company's expansion plans, essentially a test of whether he could think beyond basic number crunching. Meanwhile, Sarah grew increasingly agitated. She snapped at the grocery store clerk, obsessed over her outfit choices for the reception, and called in sick to her part-time job at the art gallery twice. When Mark asked what was bothering her, she claimed pre-event jitters. "I just want to make a good impression on your colleagues," she said, which was the first lie she'd told him since